Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. On this edition, we're going to be talking about the Saints quarterback position, and we're going to be answering the question, should the Saints try to make a trade for fan favorite Jameis Winston? And also, if you ever stop by this store to get yourself some Chinese rice and some chicken wings, then you know where I'm at.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who that? Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Really do appreciate your time. Much love to each and every one of you on this day. Before I get started, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge two of the most important people in my life. And that is, those people are my grandmother and grandfather. And on today is their 61st wedding anniversary. So I want to wish my grandparents a very happy anniversary. And I'm definitely dedicating this episode of the State of the Saints podcast to the most wonderful people in my life, Pastor Jesse Jones and my grandmother, Miss Maxine Jones. So happy anniversary to you. I love you all. But let's go ahead and get into it. And let's talk a little bit about the Saints quarterback situation, as if we didn't talk about this ad nauseum. But we're going to be talking about, should the Saints add some veterans or a veteran inside of the locker room? And one of those veterans we're going to be talking about is Jameis Winston. Now, there has been some reports going around, and they're saying that the New York Giants are possibly considering trading Jameis Winston. And with that, I just kind of thought to myself, should the New Orleans Saints maybe pick up the phone, call New York, and try to see what the Giants want for Jameis Winston? Now, we know Jameis Winston pretty well in New Orleans. He was a quarterback for the Saints, played pretty well. He had like 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions before he was, knocked out and tore his ACL and knocked out for the entire season. And, things never were the same after that. You had Dennis Allen becoming a head coach, wasn't really trusting of Jameis Winston, decided to roll with Derek Carr. And we know how that whole fiasco went. But we know that Jameis Winston has always had love for New Orleans. In fact, after he left New Orleans, he still came down to the city. Of course, we know about his Super Bowl coverage, and we know about him being a part of Mardi Gras and being a man of the people, like wasn't acting, holier than thou, pretty much ingratiated himself to the culture as well as the people. And for that, y'all already know, if you show love to New Orleans, it will show love to you back. I like Jameis Winston a lot. I think it would be a good idea if the New Orleans Saints were to try to make a trade for Jameis Winston. It would bring some veteran leadership inside of your locker room. Despite what you may think about Jameis Winston, you can think that his quarterback play is erratic. You can talk about the turnovers, but I'm not talking about it from that particular standpoint. I'm talking about a guy who is a team guy. People love and respect Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston is not one of those people that is going to rock the boat. If you tell Jameis Winston that you're trying to get some young quarterbacks prepared, he is going to do everything in his power to help you and assist you. And I just think that that is something that is missing from this quarterback room. You have 3 young, inexperienced quarterbacks that don't know what they don't know. And I don't think that is good enough that you have some former quarterbacks on your staff as coaches. I just think it's a completely different beast when you have guys who are coaches that were former players versus actually having somebody in the room with those guys, talking to them throughout the game while the head coach is probably preoccupied with other things. You can have somebody that can actually see things and understand it from a quarterback perspective. We know that Jameis Winston has started in a lot of football games, has played in a lot of football games, has made plays in a lot of football games. So I just think that it would be extremely beneficial if the New Orleans Saints were to bring a quarterback like Jameis Winston to the team. Now, some people would say that, if Jameis Winston was to come to the New Orleans Saints, he would instantly be the best quarterback on the team. But we know when it comes to the Saints, they're not trying. I won't say they're not trying, but we know that the Saints have embraced this whole rebuild situation, and they're trying to look towards the future. And with that, you want to see what you have in these quarterbacks. It may not be ideal to some Saints fans. Some Saints fans feel like they have to grin and bear it this season, but this is what a rebuild is. You find out what you actually have inside of your locker room. And 2 things are going to happen. You're going to find out that you have some studs, or you're going to find out that you have some duds. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But it's best for you to know what you actually have at the quarterback position versus wondering what you have at the quarterback position. And also, like I said, you need some stability there as well. So I just think that the New Orleans Saints may need to consider Jameis Winston, to come back to the team. I don't know if he's going to end up making the Giants anyway. Like when you think about it, are the Giants going to carry 3 quarterbacks? You also have Tommy DeVito out there who has been a mainstay with the Giants. And you have Jackson Dart, who has been playing really, really well. I mean, so well that one may even think that he could possibly be the backup quarterback, because we know that the Giants want him to be their future of their franchise. So, you have Russell Wilson as your starter. Jackson Dart has played well enough for him to make a case to be a backup, and that's what the Giants want. They want him to be ahead of schedule. So that may leave Jameis Winston as the odd man out if they decide that they want to roll with Tommy DeVito. And, maybe you can get some draft capital for a guy like Jameis Winston when you know for a fact that you're more than likely probably going to let him go anyway. It's kind of the same situation where the Saints decided to trade Colin Sanders to the Jacksonville Jaguars for the offensive line Fortner. So all I'm saying is I just think that the Saints need some veteran leadership inside of that locker room. Too many young, inexperienced guys on this team. You can still smell the Infamil and the Similac on their breath. And you just need somebody that's going to be able to help those guys navigate and help them to continue to become the pros that we know, well, some of us know that they can possibly be. I do want to mention immediately following this show, we're going to be going over to the NFC South Roundtable. I'm going to go ahead and put that link inside of the comments. If you get a chance, make sure that you check out the NFC South Roundtable. We have a really good time over there. Of course, we're going to be talking about each team's preseason game number 2 out of the NFC South. So if you're into, talking football, having a little fun, little friendly banter among NFC South foes, make sure that you come on over to the NFC South Roundtable immediately following this episode of the State of the Saints podcast. I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. I know there's some other things that people want to talk about. Kellen Moore still has not elected who's going to be the starting quarterback. I'll get into that a little bit in a little bit. And also, we're going to be talking a little bit more about this offensive line that looks like absolute slaw right now. But let me go ahead and read these comments. Dalton says Winston don't need to go to the Saints. Well, it may not be Winston, may not need to go to the Saints, but I think, do the Saints need a quarterback like Jameis Winston is the question. And I think they do. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be Jameis Winston. Just for this episode, I feel like it would be a good idea. I think he would be the best case scenario when it comes to the quarterbacks. There are other quarterbacks that I'm looking at across the NFL that could possibly come in, make some noise, and also assist with these players. Teddy Bridgewater is one. I'm wondering, if Teddy Bridgewater going to make the Bucs. Probably not. I think they're pretty happy with Kyle Trask. He's been with the Bucs for quite some time. That's somebody that I have on the radar. If you want to talk about a dark horse, you can, maybe Carson Wentz. A quarterback that has been in the league, that has some experience, that these young guys can be able to, talk to, and that veteran quarterback who has seen it all and kind of did it all can be able to assist these young quarterbacks. And then, not to mention, we know that Teddy Bridgewater would understand his position as well, and we know that he's a really good coach. I mean, it's not, him not being a good coach is not the reason he's not coaching right now. We already know that, but that would be another guy that I would keep my eye on. Let's see. I won't forget the Giants traded up and took Dart. They seen us coming. Yeah, I mean, but look, that's what it's all about. If you felt that he was the guy, then you have to aggressively move up and get him. And I'm pretty sure the Saints probably would have got Jackson Dart, but honestly, I don't think they necessarily had to do it. I think that they were nervous that maybe the Saints would move back into the first round to acquire him, because the Giants, they had a pick before the Saints in the second round. So it's not like, the Saints would have, got him before they did, unless the Saints aggressively moved up, which we've seen in this draft. The Saints didn't move up at all. So I guess that was just them being proactive and trying to, acquire him before maybe they thought the Saints may make a phone call and try to move up. Let's see. We should have got Teddy instead. I would have rather Teddy. Well, look, like I said, I mean, even though these guys are playing on teams right now during the preseason, you got to consider, maybe these organizations don't want their quarterbacks to be taking reps in preseason games. We see this around the NFL, where teams would bring in these quarterbacks, and they basically will just be there for camp bodies and also just get some reps and taking advantage of opportunities. They may not make the team, and they may understand that in the back of their minds, but they want to put some positive things on tape. So maybe a team that is looking for a quarterback in a backup capacity or something, they'll have some really good film out there, and maybe that team will call them up once the team that they're on finally makes their final cuts for the regular season, before they get into the regular season. So maybe it's like one of those situations. Let's see. I'm in there, TJ. I appreciate that, Cartel. Always, always supportive, man, and I appreciate that. Let's see. I don't know, but I want to see Shuck succeed. I want to see Tyler Shuck succeed as well, man. I don't understand, like, these people out here that just going at this guy. I don't get it. I don't understand the angle. It just seems like people are just upset. That I don't even understand why they're upset. I don't understand why people are upset. I don't get it. It's not like the dude is just god awful. I just don't see what other people are seeing. I guess they want to see him throwing the ball down the field and scoring 3 and 4 touchdowns in preseason. I don't know. I think the guy has done some really good things. I just think that he's young and inexperienced in the National Football League, and people are quick to bring up his age like that actually means something. Like, I just want people to understand that the NFL is completely different from college. I don't care how long you stayed in college. I don't care how long you played a position in college. That doesn't mean that you are just automatically going to look like a centerpiece in the National Football League. The speed is different and the energy is completely different. And for people to feel like this guy was just going to come and jump off the turnip truck and just automatically just become Josh Allen, that's your own fault. Like, just because they say a guy is pro ready doesn't mean that the guy is going to be Joe Burrow. That doesn't mean that the guy is going to be Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Like, it takes some time. It takes some reps. And I just think that I want to say that Saints fans that are critical of Tyler Shuck, I just think that they already have made their minds up about who they feel he is as a quarterback. And they go into every single game trying to evaluate this guy, and they already have negative feelings about him. So anything that he does that is not a 54-yard touchdown or a 20-yard pass down the field to Trayton Welch, he's just not good enough. So you automatically made up in your mind that this guy's going to be bad. And then on top of that, some of these Saints fans, man, like they really got to get their knowledge up when it comes to football. Like, stop telling me about what other people said. Stop telling me about who said what about whom. What did you say? What did your eyes say? Most of the time it's like, oh, well, they said he was pro-ready. Who the hell is they? Like, why are we not having this conversation with you? But that's what people do. They allow hyperbole to get into the back of their minds, gets into their subconscious, and when they're actually watching somebody, the narrative is, oh, that player isn't good enough, or you're probably on social media way too much where I already admitted and said that they're trying to make Tyler Shuck the poster boy for suck, because the reality is everybody is comparing this dude to Shedeur Sanders. And what they're comparing is the way that these two quarterbacks carry themselves. It's like Shedeur Sanders is the popular guy in school that wears all the popular labels and everybody likes him. Meanwhile, you have Tyler Shuck, who's probably not the most popular guy in school, but, he gets by. And that's what people are going. This isn't a popularity contest. And there's nothing you can do about it, Saints fans. You can cry, you can boo-hoo, you can be and moan about, oh, the Saints should have got this and that, but it ain't happening. So what are you going to do? At the end of the day, what in the world are you going to do? Are you going to continue to criticize this guy? It's not going to make the Saints like, well, you know what? Oh, man, the fans don't really like Tyler Shuck. Let's just go ahead and call up Cleveland and let's see if we can get Shedeur Sanders because we made a mistake. We got buyer's remorse. Like, give me a freaking break. You want to rally around this guy because you want him to work. Why would you want this guy to fail? I just don't understand it. I see some good qualities in Tyler Shuck. I am not going to sit up here and criticize a young rookie quarterback. I don't care how old he is, because you are still looking for every quarterback that comes into the room to resemble Drew Brees. I say it over and over and over again, and I'm going to say it again. If Drew Brees he is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most special quarterback the New Orleans Saints have ever had. If any quarterback after Drew Brees can come in and replicate what he did, ask yourself, how special was Drew Brees? There's a reason why fans of teams, when players that are really popular and really good retire, it is hard to replace them. Why? Because they're great. They wouldn't be great if they can be easily replaced. The Saints are dealing with what many teams in the National Football League deal with consistently. You have a few teams that are able to kind of weather the storm and don't really go through a situation like the Green Bay Packers. They went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Then you had the Indianapolis Colts. Right now they're going through it, but they were able to have Peyton Manning all those years, and then Andrew Luck. Like, you have some teams out there that are able to navigate and be able to make transitions. They suck at the right time, and they're able to get a generational talent to replace a generational talent. But for every situation, there's the Buffalo Bills. Yes, the Buffalo Bills have their franchise quarterback and MVP Josh Allen right now, but it took a lot of bad quarterbacks for them to get to a Josh Allen, and find that successor to Jim freaking Kelly. The Miami Dolphins the same way, trying to find a successor to Dan Marino. It happens, folks. Now, you don't want to go that long. I understand that. But at the same time, you can't keep sizing guys up. And if a guy goes through the motions, you're not giving him the grace and the time to do so. I don't understand that. Like, why try to destroy a guy before he's actually built? Saints fans are looking for Drew Brees, but Drew Brees ain't coming through that door. He's not coming through that door. Every Saints fan that is evaluating Tyler Shuck is still looking for Drew Brees to come through that door. And that's totally unfair. You can't look at a guy's age and coming from the collegiate ranks and just think automatically because he's 25 years old, he's going to automatically just look the part. Every quarterback goes through the motions. That's just the reality of it. Go back and look at the beginning of the season at some of the quarterbacks that found success late, like Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, and tell me if those guys then try to find themselves throughout the season. Jaden Daniels looked like an MVP candidate towards the end of the season, but the first couple of games, he looked pretty pedestrian. Bo Nix looked pretty solid at the end of the season, but before the season, I mean, he wasn't looking like that. It takes time. For some apparent reason, Saints fans, they feel like they don't have any time. But what you're going to do is we're going to continue to go down this rabbit hole where any quarterback that don't automatically come in and be lighting it up, all of a sudden, like, we don't feel like they have any redeeming qualities. And for that, I just feel like if you're evaluating quarterbacks like that, then you don't know much about football. If you're not going to take the time and look at and do your due diligence, or you already sit down to hate watch, you're doing yourself a disservice. And that's just not the type of energy that is necessary or warranted. So, yeah, I like Tyler Shough. I think that he has talent. I just think that he is going to take some time in order for him to be able to be that quarterback, just like many rookies that come into the league. So I just don't think that being 26 years old and being a rookie just automatically just means that you're supposed to come in being an MVP candidate. But I don't know what the angle is. Tyler needs to understand pressure when it's coming, and that comes with time. It's the speed of the game. And then on top of that, why are we pretending like this offensive line is doing this guy any favors or Spencer Rattler any favors? Like, this offensive line is in shambles. It looks like slaw. Every time these guys drop back for a play action pass, the next thing you know, they turn around, they get hit in the face. How are you able to read and go through your progressions like that? Like, you got to be able to put this thing into context. Like I said, most people are sitting down to hate watch this dude. Oh, he not Shedeur Sanders. See, if we had Shedeur Sanders, he would have made that play. Like, dude, Shedeur Sanders ain't on the team. So, like I said, people have already made up in their mind that this guy isn't going to work out. What have you actually seen in a preseason game or two games that would just tell you, oh, this thing ain't working out? That's just a pessimistic, sorry attitude to have. Like, if you want to have this conversation around week 10, week 11, and maybe, he's throwing more picks than Razor Ramon, then okay, you know what I'm saying? Maybe we can talk about it. But we also still have to put it into context. What the heck is going on? Is the offensive line looking like it has over the last couple of weeks? Like, Rome wasn't built in a day, but everybody just automatically just think this is a cartoon where guys are building houses in 10 to 15 seconds. Like, it don't work like that. Like, this ain't Popeye with the spinach, right? As soon as Popeye get the spinach, he get that muscle up and he go on that Bluto. It ain't happening like that. It takes time. I'm totally optimistic about his prospects, but I feel like his ceiling is Garoppolo. Well, Garoppolo took the 49ers to the Super Bowl, so I mean, he may not be the best quarterback, but hey, they went to the Super Bowl. Got to see Rattler with the starters. I mean, look, I ain't got nothing against Spencer Rattler, because this is what people will think. They'll check out this episode and they'll probably see we've been at this about 23 minutes now. And people not look at the full episode, and they'll just automatically think because I'm giving Tyler Shough the grace, then that means that I don't like Spencer Rattler or I want him to start over Rattler. Y'all know how it go. If you big up one person, then automatically that means you expect the demise of another. No, I like both quarterbacks. I think that both quarterbacks got really good qualities, and I think that if you're going to trust Kellen Moore in this process, you got to be able to trust him that he made the right decision to get a quarterback that he wanted. Like, I trust Kellen Moore because I feel like Kellen Moore has shown throughout his coaching career that he has been able to get the best out of quarterbacks and put them in the best position to succeed. So I feel like that matters, regardless if people want to admit that or not. But look, I'm not jumping on a negative train and just automatically just on my Chicken Little and saying that the sky is falling when I ain't even looked outside. Like, I mean, it's too early for anybody to know exactly what's going to happen. Like, you don't know. Would be the worst thing in the world if Rattler is named the starter quarterback for week 1? I don't think so. I think that, as a matter of fact, I think that it might be the best case scenario. And here's why. Because it goes back to what I was saying, Brandon. These Saints fans out here, a nice sample size of Saints fans don't have the patience to be able to allow Tyler Shuck to go through the motions. They just don't. And they're going to destroy this man's confidence because they're so busy on the soundboards and making phone calls after one game where it probably isn't ideal, or maybe he ain't throw for 300 yards and, oh, man, we should have got Shador. This is the reason why we should have got Shador. I blame Mickey. I blame this person. Like, after week 1 or something. Like, they're not going to give this guy an opportunity to go through the motions because they're going to be huffing and puffing and everything like that, because most of them don't even understand football and don't want to give a person a chance to be able to figure things out. They're not going to look at the elements around him that may prohibit him from reaching full success, or the fact that he just needs reps. I don't want to see that. I feel like when you look at this team and the way that it's structured and the way that it's built, Spencer Rattler should be the starting quarterback, because Spencer Rattler has started in 6 games. He has he knows what it's like to play behind bad offensive line play. And if you put a quarterback like Tyler Shuck in this particular situation, when you're trying to work the kinks out, he's probably not going to look the part right away. And once again, you're going to have some of those Saints fans that are completely impatient be out there sounding the loudest and basically just trying to destroy this man's confidence. And you don't need that. So I think it would be the smart decision to allow Spencer Rattler to start over Tyler Shuck. And I'm not saying that, you know, he will be the starter forever. He might end up being a starter. He might not. But at least, you know, a few games will have gone by and, you know, he'll come in and, you know, and then you won't have the pressures of, being that quarterback right away, because you will already have understood that, this team has some issues and they're going to have to work some things out. So that's all I'm saying. Like, I just think that Spencer Rattler, the way that this team is built, Spencer Rattler is the best quarterback for the job right now. I'm not saying that it's a long-term solution. We'll see. But, I don't think that Tyler Shuck needs to be starting week 1. Bro, you just talking, Rook, LOL, like, what are you even talking about? I don't know. I guess you're talking to somebody in the chat there. Rattler is going to be the starter and it's going to be okay. Look, all I'm saying is I got to wait and see approach. And then also I'm looking at this season for what it is, which is a rebuild season. Like, people are looking at the Saints like they Super Bowl contenders. Like, they're not Super Bowl contenders. That the Saints are going through the motions. That they're trying to flip this roster. They're trying to get younger. They're trying to get back into the middle when it comes to the salary cap. So you're going to have growing pains. Like, I just want people to understand that. Like, and it is just absolutely mind-boggling to me. Like, absolutely mind-boggling to me how many Saint fans have complained and whined and moaned about the Saints actually having a rebuild, embracing a rebuild, get rid of all the Sean Payton layovers, all the coaches, anything that resembles Sean Payton. We just need to turn the page. The Saints finally turn the page. It looks completely different than what you're used to. And now all of a sudden we complaining about things changing. Like, give me a freaking break. If you want to yell to the rooftops about change, if you want to talk about things being different, you got to have the patience to allow the change to happen. Like, if you're not, and you've been complaining and talking about it, you basically just want to hear yourself whine and moan. If we want to talk about a team rebuilding, let's talk about it. If you want to talk about the team being competitive and trying to go for a Super Bowl, okay, if you feel like, okay, that's the goal and you frustrated, a little delusional, but at the same time, I can understand that. But when you've been crying for years about the Saints rebuilding, and now you have Mickey Loomis going to the podium talking about a rebuild, comparing them to the first year when Dan Campbell was with the Lions, we all know how that was. They did not win. I want they won like 3 games that year. They went to the draft. They got Aiden Hutchinson and Jack Campbell and Terrion Arnolds and Jameson Williams and all these other guys to be able to build their team around Jahmyr Gibbs, and they were able to resurrect their franchise. Right now, the Saints are trying to resurrect their franchise. They're trying to do it in a way that you see some of these teams like the Lions and the Packers and the Steelers do it, where they draft players. And what we're seeing from the Saints right now, we're seeing these young players make plays. You see Danny Stutzman out there flashing. You see Sinker out there flashing. You see Quincy Riley out there flashing. You see these players. You see Calvin Banks scoring really high in PFF grades, looking like he's a sure thing at the left tackle position. That is how you get yourself out of this situation. But you also have to have patience, and complaining about little uncomfortable situations right now is not ideal, especially when you know why you're uncomfortable. You know why you're uncomfortable, because it's they're trying to get young and they're rebuilding. So why are you complaining about something that you already know? And most importantly, why are you complaining about something that you asked for? Somebody please make that make sense to me. All I'm saying is, for Saints fans, please, stop crying. Stop crying about something like that you asked for. You asked for this. So you at least got to have the patience to see it through. I absolutely love the Saints defense right now. I like the Saints defense too. I think that you see some young players out there flashing. I think that you're seeing guys fly around. And I think that I think with the first team, you're going to see some guys flash. I think you're going to see Chase Young, finally do something, probably get those double-digit sacks or close to it. I got big aspirations for a guy like Ryan Brzee. Now that the Saints are going to try to put him on the edge as a DN, I think that he is probably going to flash. Carl Granderson probably is going to show you a little something. He has slimmed down, probably going back to his size where he was when he was coming out of Wyoming. So, and then you combine that with a couple of young players that are on the team, Devine Godshaw plugging up the middle. I think that the defense is going to look pretty solid. Facts, TJ, we are rebuilding. That's why I'm okay with losing to get a higher draft pick. Look, I'm not I don't know if they're going to end up losing a bunch of games or not. But if that was the case, I think we understand why. Like the Saints, it's pretty obvious, folks. It's pretty obvious. It's like, I'm not telling anybody something they don't already know. It's pretty obvious that the Saints are limited. It's pretty obvious that the Saints are pretty top heavy when it comes to the talent, and then there's some drop off when it comes to the next man up. We know that. So just expecting, big time things, like you have to be a super, optimistic Saints fan. Like you have to understand, like this is a rebuild. And with rebuild, it comes uncomfortable football. It becomes a little bit frustrating. It's a roller coaster of emotion sometimes. It's some highs, there's some lows, there's some ups, there's some downs, but there's some learning going on as well, man. There's some learning situations that guys have to navigate and try to figure out. So I don't get it. I don't get it, man. Like I don't understand some of you Saints fans. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't understand, yo. Like man, you would look at some of these like these comments and people that call like sports talk radio, you would think that these people like Jekyll and Hyde or something. One week, Spencer Rattler have a good week. Yeah, I think they need to go ahead and put Rattler in. Then all of a sudden, like Tyler Shuck coming in second, man, yeah, that's the reason why he gonna be the number one guy. Then the next week, Spencer Rattler, mop up duty, 2 minutes and 11 seconds left on the clock. He drives down the field. Man, I think Spencer Rattler pretty much sealed the deal. Like, come on, man. Like, now you gotta let this thing play out. Like, it's so Jekyll and Hyde, man. We want to rebuild. I've been saying this for 2-3 years. They need to rebuild. Man, Sean Payton, he left the Saints in a bad position, man. We just need to blow this thing up, bruh. Okay, Saints, finally get Kellen Moore, youngest head coach in the league. The Saints draft a quarterback. Man, we ain't never gonna be nothing, bro. Like, man, come on, man. Come on. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. But back to the quarterback situation. Let's talk a little bit about Kellen Moore before we get up out of here. I got to head on over to the NFC South Roundtable. Kellen Moore still hasn't officially announced who is going to be the starting quarterback, which means that this competition is still wide open. Some people may feel like maybe, Spencer Rattler has a little bit of the advantage, and you want to see Tyler Shuck one more time to try to validate, what some Saints fans may think, which is they want him to be the starter. I don't know what it is. All I know is this is not ideal, but it also speaks volumes about where the state of the Saints is, no pun intended, and how much grace they're giving Kellen Moore. Like, this, to me, this is more like a red shirt year for Kellen Moore when it comes to the coaching. He understands that, so he can prolong this process, because it's like, you got these other teams out here, like the Browns. They've already named Joe Flacco as their starter. Today, if you're watching this on a Tuesday, you got Daniel Jones, who was announced as the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts over Anthony Richardson. Teams are starting to announce who is going to be their starting quarterbacks for the 2025 season. And Kellen Moore, he doesn't have to work on their time, because once again, this is a rebuild and they know it's going to be a work in progress. So he wants to evaluate these guys fully. I think they'll eventually, announce it probably, if not later on in the week. It's probably going to be after the third preseason game. They'll probably announce who is going to be the starter. But I feel like with that and them keeping it close to the vest, I think you're probably going to see both of these quarterbacks go out there again and be able to take some snaps, and maybe they'll evaluate it then. I know one thing is for sure, Jake Haener is out of the running. That's one of the main reasons I just feel like the New Orleans Saints may need to possibly waive Jake Haener to try to bring in a veteran quarterback to be able to help out this team. But I guess, like I said, he don't have to react or run on some of these other some of these other organizations are running, because I'm pretty sure the Saints gave him some time for him to be able to figure this thing out and turn this thing around. But I think they need to decide who is going to be the starting quarterback sooner rather than later. I understand we will lose, but to lose, damn, can we get some excitement? That's all I want. Well, look, I agree with you on that. I feel that even if the Saints aren't as good, if they are competitive and they show fight and grit in games, and it's to a point where, you can actually see them turning a corner. Now, I'm going to use this for an example. Now, I don't expect for this season to turn out the way that it did during this time, but I'm using this as an example. In 2006, when the New Orleans Saints came back post-Katrina, it was the first season with Drew Brees, and I can remember them playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was the famous game where Reggie Bush came around on that reverse and jumped about 10 yards into the end zone for a touchdown. But the Saints didn't win that football game. But the Steelers were a well-respected football team. They were pretty much a powerhouse at that time, known for their stiff defense, their aggression. And the Saints were like taking the Steelers' best shot, and they were going right back down there, and they were scratching and biting and clawing. And I can just remember that famous game at Heinz Field. And like I said, the Saints lost, but it was pretty obvious that things probably weren't going to be the same after, that game. The Saints were on an uptick, and you can kind of see it coming. That was the game where I felt like, man, the Saints were for real. Some people will probably say it was the Dallas Cowboys game where, Bill Parcells was the coach and Sean Payton pretty much took it to his mentor. I'm not – the Dallas Cowboys weren't that good. It was just Bill Parcells was the coach. The Steelers game, to me, was the game that really showed me that the Saints were going to be a force for years to come. If they can actually go to Buffalo And I'm not saying win against the Buffalo Bills. That's just wishful thinking. And, I mean, the grand scheme of things. I mean, on any given Sunday, any team can beat any team. But I'm just saying, like, Buffalo is a contender. They are in Super Bowl contention every single year. If the Saints go there and they go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen, they're able to neutralize him in some cases. They're able to stay lock and step with him, and they fight to the very end. And let's just say they end up losing. But they show fight and grit in those games. I think that it will make Saints fans feel like it will make it feel like a win because you understand what the Saints are actually going through right now. Like, you want to see something that resembles change so you can be optimistic about the future. So I think if you generate some level of excitement, like staying in games that you have no business being in, then I feel like maybe, it will change the minds of some of these Saints fans. But, you got to see something that's different at the end of the day. But I'm about to go ahead and move on over to the NFC South Roundtable. But once again, man, thank y'all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I put the link inside of the comments. 343 people watching this right now. If you not doing anything, come on over to the NFC South Roundtable. We're discussing some of these preseason games. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. I really would appreciate that. All right. You can check out previous episodes right here on YouTube. You can also check out the State of the NFL that is available. I'm asking everybody to subscribe to that channel as well. Before I get up out of here, let me go ahead and put that link inside of the comments as well. It's a podcast where I talk about some of the hottest topics in the NFL. Tonight's episode, I haven't recorded it yet, but I will. We're going to be talking about Anthony Richardson being benched and being replaced by Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. So we'll get into that. And we'll also talk about what the future holds for quarterback Anthony Richardson. So make sure you subscribe to that channel. Much love to each and every one of you. Come on over to the NFC South Roundtable. Have yourself some fun. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who dat?